Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Mavi Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we'll try to share the screen here. And we have January 1st in Asia. And we're finishing up Satkarma, Bhakti, and Jnanam, talk to be given at Kailas Ashram, Bengaluru on January 8th. And this is part 3. And it starts with a question: what are the 3 types of temples? 3 different types of temples that I use in my talks all the time. And the answer is in the text over the next few slides. It's not all in one slide. In the pursuit of bhakti, I find it helpful to refer to 3 types of temples. The community temple are called the Pura Mandira. So this uses, this is Pabdes, so it uses Sanskrit. It's not saying koval or mandir. Mandira, Sanskrit. Pura Mandira, the village temple. Second type of temple is the Griha Mandira, which refers to the home shrine. Third type is a few slides away. The ideal home, the ideal Hindu home centers around the home shrine. You can hear the fireworks outside. Neighbors. Special room set aside and maintained to create a temple-like atmosphere which holds us close to our spiritual goals and practices. In this holy space, we conduct puja, read scripture, perform sadhana, sing bhajana, and do japa. Here we can always feel the presence of God and the gods, whom we honor especially in the morning and evening and before meals, which we offer to them before we partake. Here, worship traditionally begins before dawn with a simple act of dedication for the day. Bath, morning puja. Children and wife may perform puja at another time of day as well. So this, of course, is called Atmarta Puja. Begins the day on a religious note, blessing the work and activities that follow. Evening devotionals include a simple arati, bhajana, meditation, and reading of scripture. A day's end routine that carries family members to the lofty celestial realms during sleep. The temple-like atmosphere of the shrine room can prevail throughout the home if family members handle disagreements and difficult issues in a harmonious, professional way, avoiding arguments and expressions of anger. So that's very important, and I like to draw a comparison to a bathtub. Bathtubs aren't that, you don't run into that much unless you're in a hotel. But bathtub, doing sadhana is like filling up the tub a certain height. And then when you get angry, it's like taking out the plug and all the water drains away. So you do the sadhana, you fill it, you get angry, you drain it. You know, clearly you're not making any lasting progress, right? If you allow anger to be, serious anger to be expressed in the home. And this is not saying you can never disagree. Husband and wife can never disagree. It's saying disagreements are going to happen. We need to handle them in a harmonious, professional way. Third place of worship, or the third type of temple, is the temple within the body, which I call the Atma Mandira. Paramaguru Yogaswami of Jaffna, Sri Lanka said, God lives in this house built of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Therefore, keep the house clean and the mind pure, and conduct yourself with calmness. His disciple Markandeya Swami recounted his guru's instructions. Yoga Swami said, leave your relations downstairs, your will, your intellect, your senses. Leave the fellows and go upstairs by yourself and find out who you are. Then you can go downstairs and be with the fellows. That's charming. Yoga Swami was describing the internal form of worship, meditation in the sacred chamber of the soul, wherein we quiet our physical bodies, still our astral and mental bodies, become centered in our immortal spiritual body of light, and strive for, discover, and ultimately merge with God within. Through meditation, we temporarily set aside our mundane concerns and experience our refined spiritual nature that is always serene and centered, a source of intuition, solace, and strength for all our activities. Consistent practice of meditation has the power to increase our concentration, observation, understanding, compassion, appreciation, cooperation, mental acuity, emotional stability, willpower, and our ability to see God in all things and all people. But meditation doesn't just help us go within, it also improves our abilities to handle our daily activities with more concentration, less emotion. Meditation also leads to inner experiences of our soul nature. For example, the famous verse I quote a lot, Tirumantiram 14:44, beholding the light of life is great yoga worship. So that's a deeper experience than many meditation teachers take you to. But that's really when it starts to get somewhat profound, when you start seeing the inner light of the soul, which is called Atma Jyoti. Jyoti or Jnana is defined as meditation on the Supreme Light. And beautiful quote from Gurudeva, the meditator sees light within his head and body as clearly as he did in former states of materialistic consciousness when looking at a glowing light bulb. While involved in inner searching some hidden laws of existence or unraveling the solution to a problem of the outer mind, he sits viewing the inner light, and the light shines through the knitted law of existence, clearly showing it in all its ramifications, as well as shining out upon the snarled problem, burning it back into proportionate component parts. In other words, it helps you understand it clearly through analyzing it. Our worship to this point of the deity or of the inner light, in philosophical terms, try that again. Our worship to this point has been of the deity or of the inner light. In philosophical terms, it is dualism, called Dvaita in Sanskrit. There are always two of you, the devotee and the deity, or the devotee and the inner light, which is the object of your worship and is separate from you. Jnana is different. There are no longer two. You and the deity are the same. However, it is not the personal God that you are the same with. It is the impersonal aspect of God, which is often referred to as Satchit Ananda, or omnipresent consciousness. However, there are also deeper aspects to the experience. In philosophical terms, it is non-dualism, called Advaita in Sanskrit. In the beginning of the talk, meaning part 1, 2 weeks ago, we described this state as Jivatma experiencing itself as Paramatma, which is called Paramatma Darshana. Tirumantiram verse, the first line refers to this, being the life of life. Uyir Kuyir is splendorous jnana worship. There it is. And then another quote from Gurudeva. How the dualistic experience of inner light can turn into a non-dual one. Occasionally, young aspirants burst into inner experience, indicating a balance of intense light at a still higher rate of vibration of here and now awareness. than their almost daily experience of a moon-like glow, inner light. The dynamic vision of seeing the head and at times the body filled with a brilliant clear white light. When this intensity can be attained at will, more than often man will identify himself as spiritual force flowing through the material externalities of the outer mind and identity. It is as a force of life more real and infinitely more permanent than the external mind itself. Interesting, that quote was part of my talk today. First day of the monk's phase, called Sun 1. And I gave the two Shum words for that. The moon-like glow light, which we see first, is Balikana. And then the bright light, the clear white light, is Ifche. So they're distinct experiences. Ifche is a deeper and more alive, more actinic energy is experienced in Ifche than in Balikana. And then Gurudeva, this is a great quote. I have seen myself in a certain state of samadhi as pure life force, flowing through a jungle, through trees, through plants, through water, through air. That is superconsciousness. It is so permanent. It is so real. And the next section looks at the benefits or the fruit of the various Hindu practices we have mentioned. The Sanskrit term that describes the earning of punya, merit, is ishtapurtam. Swami Harshananda, in his A Concise Encyclopedia of Hinduism, gives this explanation of ishtapurtam. The term refers to the cumulative spiritual result or merit due to a man's performance of ritual worship and charitable acts. Ishta includes all types of ritual worship, including the gifts given during its performance. Purta indicates the various acts of charity and public utility, such as building and dedicating of deep wells for the good of the public, building temples and gardens. Free distribution of food, giving gifts, nursing the sick, and many other acts of charity sanctioned by the holy books. Popular concept in Hinduism, in fact, and other religions as well, is that if we live a life that earns an abundance of punya, then after our transition from life on earth, we will permanently reside in the heaven worlds. Verses in the Mundaka Upanishad state that this concept is false. They state that the punya earned by ishtam karma, that's the ceremony, purtam karma, that's temple building and all, grants the soul access to the heaven worlds, but eventually that punya is used up and the soul is reborn on earth. So the question for you is, what grants the soul freedom from rebirth? We all know the answer, but what's the answer in the terminology of this particular talk? It is Paramatma Darshana, the Jivatma experiencing itself as Paramatma, the state of jnana. Thus we can say that the fruit of jnana is moksha, total liberation from the cycle of birth and death on earth. So that's why it's important, is otherwise we keep being reborn. Second topic. We didn't have enough questions at satsang@hindu.org to answer any questions, so skipping that, going straight on to character. Reliability, which is the 47th character quality from our workbook. How would you define reliability? The workbook says reliability means being trustworthy and responsive, consistently performing as expected. I develop it when I respond to others' needs and directions and fulfill what I have agreed to. The opposite is unreliability. Gurudeva's quotes. It is necessary for spiritual unfoldment on the path to enlightenment to live among others, be loyal, faithful, not promiscuous, to settle down and establish a cooperative routine of community life. Living among others, even having roommates who think, believe, and have adopted the same spiritual religious disciplines, grants the burden of good conduct, prompt resolution of problems, and abundance of sharing, giving, and caring during the trials and happinesses that naturally arise in living with others. Comparing the actions of one who is reliable to one who is unreliable. First situation, when mom asks you to please make your bed each morning, you. Reliability, respond by developing a regular habit of leaving the room neat. Unreliability, do it for 3 days, then stop, figuring she will probably forget. Second situation, when your rock climbing partner slips and falls, you. Reliability, immediately come to her aid with no thought for yourself. Unreliability, panic and fearfully step away from the cliff, hoping she can fend for herself. Third situation, the team at work sets difficult goals for each member and you. Reliability, proactively rearrange your life and find the extra hours to meet your new goals. Unreliability, figure they will ask you a few more times if they really need your contribution. And reflection, take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in reliability. And assignment, especially during these 2 weeks when you promise to do something, be sure to do it. Very good. Om. Om.